2 of this special series.
It was a gorgeous autumn day in Dallas. The skies were as bright and cheerful as the enthusiastic crowds that came to greet their president. The images were striking. A popular, handsome Kennedy and his attractive wife Jackie clad in pink. Lewis Gilbert will never forget that day. He was one of thousands who lined Main Street cheering the president.
Everybody was looking forward to this trip so much. The build-up, the anticipation of his just being here. And I guess that's what brought me out on the street.
From Love Field to downtown, the parade route was lined with enthusiasm. In a matter of seconds, the elation would turn into sheer horror. The president had been shot.
You couldn't believe that something of this magnitude could take place right here when you were here just watching it a few minutes before.
Dallas would forever be remembered as the city where the president was shot, and to many, the city that killed Kennedy. But even before the tragedy, Dallas's reputation as a city of hate was growing. 1 month before the assassination, United Nations Ambassador Adlai Stevenson came to town as part of a UN Day celebration. Right-wing conservatives opposed to the United Nations came out in droves to protest. Some demonstrators spat on Stevenson. Former Dallas mayor and Channel 4 employee Wes Wise photographed the melee.
Stevenson very graciously went over to speak to the people, and when he did, a lady came from behind the crowd and swung a placard back over his head, hit him here on the ear pretty hard. I was afraid he had really been seriously hurt for a moment.
On the day of the assassination, more evidence of hatred in the city. A pamphlet touting Kennedy as wanted for treason was passed out along the parade route. That same day, this full-page ad ran in the Dallas Morning News. Its sponsor, the American Fact-Finding Committee, was a front for conservative Dallasites who footed the bill. The ad criticized Kennedy for, among other things, ordering his brother Bobby, the Attorney General, to go soft on communists.
That ad should not have been run. And had I been here, and this is easy to say under the present circumstances, I would not have allowed that ad.
Former Dallas Morning News President Joe Dealey says the ad is one reason why many people blame the city for the assassination instead of the assassin.
It never even should have left the advertising department. It should have been dismissed.
Many Dallasites felt their city was dealt a bad rap in receiving blame for the assassination. They claimed the right-wingers were a few bad apples, and that in reality, Dallas was a young, growing financial center where a handshake often sealed a contract.
We were a cosmopolitan city. We had opera, we had dance, we had theater, stage.
The thinking that existed at that time was probably a little lower level, but it aimed in the same direction as it is today, and that is to make it an ever-improving community.
I think Dallas did take a bad rap. Why pick on Dallas? Presidents have been shot at or assassinated in other cities and have not been branded hate cities the way that Dallas was.
Former Senator John Tower, a conservative critic of Kennedy, received threatening calls after the assassination. The callers blamed the conservatives for killing the president.
They were pretty threatening, saying flat out, you're responsible for killing our president, you hate monger, you fascist.
City leaders felt that Dallas was no more a city of hate than other major U.S. cities like New York or Chicago. They blamed a handful of right-wingers for creating an image that they claimed did not portray reality. How they coped with that image is the subject of our next report. Steve Stoller, Channel 4 News.
Parts of downtown Dallas' Lost City was blamed for having an attitude that encouraged violence. Tonight in our continuing series on the aftermath of the Kennedy assassination, Bud Gillette looks at how Dallas has struggled to cope with that image.
From virtually the instant Kennedy's death was confirmed,
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m.
outsiders blamed it on Dallas, especially the Eastern and the foreign press. At that time, former Dallas Mayor Wes Wise was a Channel 4 newsman and president of the Dallas Press Club. He remembers helping out-of-town reporters get typewriters and other equipment, and then discovering they were capable of biting the hand that fed them.
It was quite a tight line to walk because we had to decide whether, to what extent did we want to help people who were turning around and using it against the city of Dallas, which most of us were fond of. There were fighting incidents in the press club, and there were intense arguments, actual physical fights. Yes, there were.
We were known in Europe as a city of hate because that was a phrase that stuck.
Within weeks of the assassination, Eric Johnson was visiting Europe as the new mayor of Dallas. He found the image of hate very much alive.
The experience of getting off the plane 6 months later, or a little more, and being greeted with that phrase stuck with me pretty hard. I had to make the decision as mayor then, what do you do to cure this image?
One thing Dallasites themselves apparently did was to begin turning their backs on extremists who preached the politics of hate.
I think we made them so unwelcome and made them recognize whether our political views were right or left or moderate, that they were unwelcome. And so why should they stay here?
There was, however, another faction that wanted to deny the assassination had happened at all.
There had been some people rushing in very quickly wanting to wipe it all out. And I think the cooler heads warned them from the very beginning, you can't do away with history. The movement to tear down or to eliminate the Texas School Book Depository, that was really headed off pretty quick.
I remember one time I was even taught some people said, well, tear the building down, which is ridiculous. I mean, Ford's Theater in Washington, 100+ years later, is still a tourist attraction.
Mayor Johnson decided any new Dallas image would have to come from within, so he got tens of thousands of people involved in a Goals for Dallas effort.
We defined the 12 most important things that the city could do to make clear what we wanted to be. What kind of protection do you want out of your police department, your fire department, your public health department?
A new city hall and an expanded airport of international stature are visible evidence of some goals that were achieved. But a football team and a primetime TV soap opera may have done more to reshape Dallas's image. A look at them tomorrow. Bud Gillette, Channel 4 News.
Now is the debate that raged within the U.S. intelligence